So I hear some sniffling and I know it's hard. Benja and T. Renee actually helped me finish getting the names, and we just went through some craziness emotionally as you kept finding. And I actually found 4 more names last night. So there's no real database that keeps track of this stuff, which is why it probably has been hidden under the carpet. So that might be an initiative later on that we, that comes out of this forum. But anyway, welcome to An Actor's Life, the series, the show by and after for creatives or anyone living their best life and in need of inspiration while pursuing their goals. I am your host and creator, Michele Baldwin, and today's topic is Enough is Enough. Before we start, I always like to set a global intention of the day. Overall acceptance, to be equal in every way, period. Enough is enough. Our pain, our cries, and our need to be seen and heard resonate through this entire country. Amidst COVID-19, the state of our country has literally spiraled to a much higher level of injustice. The murders of Mr. Ahmaud Arbery, Mr. George Floyd, and then 2 days ago, Mr. Manuel Ellis took place. Hey, this is nothing new. Our ancestors have been fighting this ugly head of injustice and inequality for 400 years. For all that are in this fight, black, white, yellow, brown, or red, we are simply tired, disgusted, overwhelmed, and we are seeking the answers. When will enough not need to be said? Only when we take action to find and implement better solutions to abolish a systematic oppression of Black people and for racism to be cited as a crime. We deserve answers now more than ever. We have a wonderful panel of guests today.
Lineup today is some of the dopest people I know. I've read their works. They've been creative. They've been a voice to the people. And we're just going to introduce you. They're going to say their names, and then we're going to get right into it. So please introduce yourself. Let's start out with Mr. Jamal Williams.
Hello, I'm on it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, my name is Jamal Williams. I'm a playwright and a writer of other stuff. And I'm also the founder of a workshop, a writer's workshop called Uptown Playwrights Workshop. I'm happy to be here with all these distinguished artists. And, I'm glad to be in this combination for this conversation. So that's me.
Okay, our next guest. Oh, I'm sorry, Jamal, were you finished? Sorry.
I'm finished.
Okay, our next guest is Mariana. So Mariana, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm Mariana Carreno. I'm a playwright and a director. And I'm sorry my neighborhood is really loud. I teach at Purchase College, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Benja.
Thank you. CJ, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm CG Reeves, and that's okay. Many people make that mistake, but I'm CG Reeves, and I'm an actor, director, and I'm an activist. And it's a great pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Don Wilson. Don, are you there? Is Don something?
Don, you're here. I see.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, well, my name is Don Wilson Glenn, and I have been a playwright for a very long time, producing and directing Our Voice. Most people say it's an underheard voice. It's people that don't have a voice. Well, we do have a voice. I have been producing that voice with that experience. I have been producing and trying to fulfill the theater's need that everyone is important. One of my main focus has been women in the theater. behind the scenes as directors, as designers. That also is necessary. I now am the artistic director of a theater here in East Texas, the Angelina Community Theater. I have continued to work all over the country. So I appreciate and very honored to be here with all of you guys. Love you, Benja.
Love you, Don. Love you, Don. Our next person I would like to introduce is my brother, Levy Lee. Levy, tell us who you are.
Yeah, my name is Levy Lee Simon, originally from Harlem, USA, and I am a playwright, actor, director, producer, artist whose primary purpose is to change the world.
Listen to this warrior woman right here. Ms. Liza, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Liza Jessie Peterson. I am an actor, playwright, and artivist. My activism and my art are one and the same. And my art is a vehicle for my activism.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Mr. Daniel Carlton.
Peace, everybody. My name is Daniel Carlton. I guess we could do titles, but it all comes down to, I like to consider myself a servant of the people. And I like to say that those ways to be a servant of the people are directing and writing, including playwriting, poetry, storytelling, teaching, all that good stuff. But it really is in the art to serve the people.
Okay, and we see that our new person, new producer was able to get in. So I just want to introduce you to her. T. Renee, why don't you just tell us who you are and then we'll get right into it. T. Renee?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, guys. I was having tech issues. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is T. Renee Mathis, and I'm an actress. I'm a host. I have a show called The Talk with T. Renee. A lot of you guys have been on it. I'm also an entrepreneur. I sell CBD oil, so I'm so happy to be here, everybody. Welcome, welcome, all guests.
And I am Benja K. Thomas. I am an actress, producer, writer, filmmaker, photographer, but just an artist who would like to contribute some gifts to the world. So let's just jump right into it. I know how this has affected me. I've cried a lot. And I don't know what it was about George Floyd's death that sent us, well, I know what it is. I mean, we saw it live on TV, and since everybody's home because of COVID, everybody was able to see what happened to this man. And I think it has been a game changer in this world. I really do. I think it has. So in a few words, this COVID thing and Black Lives Matter and education and racism and Trump and all of this, in a few words, how are you digesting this? Let me go, since Don, you raising your fingers, let me go to you, Don. How are you digesting all of this? And I think you knew George Floyd, yes? Don, can you hear me?
Yes, he was from Houston area. He was almost a legend. We talked about him.
Don, you hit your mute button.
Don, you hit your mute button.
Let me try to unmute him.
Don?
It's not letting me unmute him.
Okay. Don, we're gonna come back to you. Okay, there you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. It disturbed us on a national level to see someone, a legend, a folklore, to be actually executed in front of us. It's personal. It said that man.
Okay, we're losing you, Don. So, Mariana, let me ask you, how has all of this affected what has been going on with you?
Whoa. Everything is so big and so heavy, and the thing with George Floyd one of the things that affected me more, besides seeing a fucking grown man like being executed on TV, was the face of the cop. How cold and really not caring. And I really hope, Benja, you said that this is a game changer because COVID and all that. I really hope so, because time and time again, we've seen this shit happening and nothing changes, or very little changes. And I'm not as optimistic as you. I really want to believe you, but it's been really rough, you know, writing this COVID thing, not only George Floyd, but also it's not Karen, sorry, Amy Cooper in Central Park with the other dude. Like, that was so blatantly weaponizing her whiteness that it was hard to believe. It was like, oh, so you know this shit. You know that you can put a person in danger of losing their lives because you're white. And it's been fucking insane. And then, you know, like you said, being alone in my house with my cat, with, like, you know, helicopters every night, like flying really low and targeting Black people, because that's what they're doing. I'm in the Bronx. It's just been really rough. And please, like, from your lips to God's ear, I hope this is a game changer.
Yes.
Levy?
Levy. Okay. You know, I'm born and raised in New York City. 115th Street between Manhattan and Morningside was where I grew up as a little shorty. My first experience with the police abuse and killing happened when I was 10 years old. There was a guy named Jimmy that lived in our neighborhood, 16, beautiful young cat, dreamed of going to UCLA, had a plan, had a future. And we heard that the cops beat him to death with their billy clubs, just like Rodney King. So, and then, you know, it seemed like right after that, it was happening over and over again. At 16, Michael Frere from 143rd Street was shot to death by the police. He was 16 years old, looked 12. They said he had a gun. These were traumatic experiences for a young kid. So every time since, all the way up until George Floyd, it's like I relived that moment. I relived that moment as a 10-year-old. So when we witnessed the execution of George Floyd, and like someone just mentioned, with a man so callously taking his life, yeah, there's like in Lorraine Hansberry's play, A Raisin in the Sun, Walter Lee says, "You ain't got no rage? How can you be a Black man and not be filled with rage?" Yeah, I'm filled with rage inside. Thank God I'm an artist. You know, thank God. Amiri Baraka said, if Bessie Smith Bessie Smith and Charlie Parker would not have played a note of music if they could have walked down East 65th Street and killed the first 10 white people they saw. You know? So my art is my way of speaking about what's going on. And I'm sure a lot will come out of this, but just to stay on course here, as people blowing me up on my phone, stay on course here. You know, I'm also hope that this is a game changer, that we don't have another Trayvon situation, you know, because if that happens, I don't know what's gonna happen in this country, but I foresee some really bad stuff going down.
Liza?
Yeah, so I have been overwhelmed with rage and pain. And one of the things that has helped me are two things, is that, you know, when I think about Harriet Tubman, and I am optimistic, and I know that this is a game changer, and I know that things will be different, but what's very important for me to hold on to is when I think about Harriet Tubman, who never saw freedom in her life. She was born into slavery. All she knew was plantation life. You know, she didn't know anything else, but there was something in her mind's eye that she knew that this could be different. And she not only ran towards what was in her mind's eye, right? This idea of freedom, this concept of freedom that she had never seen or experienced, but she knew it was something better and different and more than what was presented to her. And I think that we're presented with that same opportunity, that we may not know what freedom looks like for us, but we know that it's not what we're in right now, and we're moving the needle towards something else. And yes, the sleeping giant has awakened. I am optimistic. And yes, there will be another Trayvon, unfortunately. And that does not mean that we stop. That just means that we keep the battery in our back, and we keep fighting, and we keep moving, so that we create an atmosphere for our children, that they understand that they are warriors, we are warriors, and that we are moving towards freedom, and it will get figured out. We are figuring it out. We're building the ship as we cross this new ocean. So, you know, we're you know, it feels like chaos because it is chaos. It feels confusing because it is confusing. There's a lot in the midst. But what I am confident is that we are people who are the parents of the planet. We have ancient DNA. We can conjure. We can manifest. We have warriors. And the children, you see the children in the street who are fired up. That's the hope. That's the hope for me. So, you know, it will get better. It is getting better. And we are at a turning point in this moment.
Thank you, CG.
Yeah, you know, I feel very sad, and I almost sometimes feel very hopeless and very angry. You know, as a creative person, as an actor, as a director, I feel it. And what's interesting, though, this time around is I think that a lot of people are feeling it. There were a lot of young people out on the streets feeling it. In the United States, this is nothing new. You know, it's funny, I was, since I had a lot of time due to us all staying in, was watching a lot of movies. And a few days ago, you know, I thought I would just start and watch, you know, revisit Birth of a Nation. And it's very interesting how this is still America. You know, from lynchings to white women seeing someone in the park or in a forest and being extremely frightened, to the Black folks dancing all the time. This is something that needs to change. I also feel that in our world, in the entertainment industry, we need to do better. And what I mean by that is casting directors need to persuade or encourage or do something to bring in Black actors to directors, writers, producers. And writers, producers, directors need to bring in, not exclude, these people so that people can be visible and people will have a different connotation of what Black people are. So, you know, I'm optimistic as well, but we have a lot of work to do. But seeing a lot of the new young in the streets protesting, all different types of people, made me feel very proud.
Daniel?
Greetings, everybody. I'm just going to be completely transparent and honest that I have decided that I will let myself be in the range of the emotions and the plan. And if the plan dismantles, that's the truth too. I've personally been traumatized by the police. I once had a gun put to my head by the police, and he said, if you breathe, I'll fucking kill you. And so whenever I hear I can't breathe, and I hear anything that connects to breath, I think about how the breath that someone from the state has the power to take from you, that every breath that I take, I have to be opposition to that, you know? And there are a lot of ways that I'm really struggling and trying to be opposition to that. And one of the ways is, once again, to watch the range. I've decided to disconnect from Facebook just because there are so many wars that I'm just not fighting. And I do want, and I'm not taking care of white folks the way they would like to be taken care of.
That's right.
In Harlem, who wants to filter his experiences through me, you know, and said to me like, you know, I'm riding my bike, man, and like they're really tearing up downtown. And I'm like, motherfucking Wall Street was built on fucking slavery. I don't give a fuck about tearing up downtown. But I also have to look at like I said, the range, so that I think that, because I have this thing where I really believe that no flowers, nothing will grow on that spot, but there are seeds, you know, that are being planted. I don't mean to take up too much time, but Nambi and I have had the experience that sometimes here in Harlem, we have people who are marching. You also see the cops and their response to that. And what is very hopeful is the generational participation. What is not hopeful is the reasons for some of the generational participation. I think that some of the generational participation is sort of based on hopelessness and the rage of hopelessness. And I think that that's running side by side with young people who are filled with hope. And so all the dichotomy of where we are, to experience it as a full circle, so that I'm not trying to deny any of the experience, but I do refuse to watch the executions of Black people anymore.
Amen.
Because I'm just not going to do it. My breath is too important to choke on my own breath and my own rage, you know? And so that's where I am. I'm also, and I'll stop here, I don't know, the Most High sort of put me in a position where I'm working with a team of young people, Levy, at the University of Iowa. And it's devising a piece that I initially called the New Now. And I was basing that on COVID and masking and all that other stuff. But it's like, to have the opportunity to hear young people's thinking around that, like a multicultural group of young people, is really out dictating their experience and telling them where I think they should go with their thinking. I'm very blessed to be an opportunity to hear how people who have come from as far away from LA to Iowa, to people born and raised there, to Black people who is trying to find their way in whiteness and wearing the mask and double consciousness and everything that goes with that. So thank you. I took up a lot of time. Thank you.
That's okay. Jamal?
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm very pessimistic, and I've been a pessimist for quite a long time. And I think it has a lot to do with me living as long as I have and witnessing all these different things. And as a writer, a lot of things that I write about are about history, but told in different points of view. Now, what I'm seeing here, I guess back in the 60s, in the 70s, when you had Martin Luther King preaching, turning your face and, you know, love and peace, and you have Malcolm X talking about somebody hit you, you hit them back. I think I'm more of a Malcolm X believer because I've seen all kinds of things. And one of the things that always turns out is that despite the fact that Black folks are being brutalized on TV, on video now, and, and we're eyewitnesses to these police crimes, nothing ever happens. And the only thing is I can say is that even though I have strong pessimism about a lot of stuff, I'm surprised because I've been watching these new demonstrations that happened after Lloyd was killed. And I was expecting, as normal as usual, that things would peter out. Even though there's a great mixture of different races marching and stuff, because it always comes down to, regardless of what we march peacefully in the streets, everything returns to the same state, eventually. But I'm a little bit surprised that it's lasted this long. Maybe there'll be some slight changes, but I don't expect anything positive for Black people to come out of this. Peaceful marches and stuff is one thing, but I believe that if you study history enough, you can see anytime somebody overthrows oppressors, it's always violently. It's never, if it is because people looking for peace and they have, and they make an agreement that they're not going to do that, it always returns to the state of what it was before. Nobody can give you anything that they don't want to give you. They give you something that pacify you for a moment, but then everything returns to the way it was before, because I'm honestly thinking that as much as I've seen of what's going on, some people will never change. White superiority will always be here regardless. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm hoping that these marches come to something, but I don't expect them to. That's just me.
I hear you. Melissa, before I go on with the other questions, do we have anything from the Facebook audience that you would like to share?
Yes, I would like to first acknowledge those who are in the room. Thank you, Jennifer Joseph, for joining, Stephen Strickland, Leslie Jones, Frankie Pineapple, Carnell Jackson, Rhonda McLean-Noor, Jessica Davis, and Soraya White. Leslie Jones agreed with Chris Reeves and said yes. Soraya White stated while Daniel was speaking, do what you must to take care of yourselves and protect your spirit. Definitely agree. And that's what we have for now.
Thank you. I know that I was given a list of questions, but based on what you all have been talking about, I just want to ask about this mask situation, because we've been wearing masks for a long time, and I'm tired of wearing a mask. And I'm not talking about going out in the street to protect others from me in case I might have COVID and don't know it. But I'm just talking about the mask that we wear in general. And the images that go along with that. Who would like to speak out about that? Because I'm a little enraged right now. Levy, you had me going with your 10-year-old self. The same thing every time you see something like this on television. So Levy, you can go ahead because you raised your hand.
Yeah. Paul Laurence Dunbar, we wear the mask that grins and lies, it hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. Why should the world be overwise when we wear the mask? And I just wrote a response to that. I mean, just within the past 2 weeks, because you're right, Ben. I'm not wearing a mask anymore. I'm not grinning and shuffling and jiving and trying to please anybody. I'm very comfortable in my own skin at this point in my life. I'm a Black man and proud of it. I am who I am and proud of it. And what you see is what you get. And if you got a problem with that, too bad. Keep it walking, keep it moving. I'm just surely, we were kind of conditioned, some of us, not all of us, that we had to act and be a certain way in order to fit in order to get a piece of the pie. And even still then, you get slapped in the face, you get treated like second-class citizens. You know, so did that really work for anybody? I mean, it may have at a particular time, yeah, but that time has passed. That time is gone. You know, so no, I'm with you, Ben. You know, forget the mask. You know, this is not a mask. What you see is what you get. You know, and I'm gonna stop there for now.
Anybody else would like to respond? Oh,
Look, don't stop, Levy. You say what you got to say, baby.
Right.
Don, I see your hand.
I got a panel of people here. I don't want to take up everybody's time. Yeah, so I got more to say, but I'll just pass it around.
The round robin. I saw Don's hand up. Yes, Don. And then Liza. Okay, Don.
I would like to say. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to say that I want to take off my mask. I'm tired of wearing my mask because I've been wearing my mask for 35 years in this business, and I have not been produced by one grade A theater company that is white. I'm not worried about you producing my work because my work speaks about not wearing my mask. And I want to not wear my mask, and I want to tell my story about Eula May, Mamie Lee. I want to tell my story about Aunt Kool-Aid. I want to tell the story you don't want to hear. I want to tell the story about that young Black girl that y'all are going to try to persecute for $100 worth of food stamps because her neighbor called her in and said her baby's daddy was in her house. That's the story I want to tell about, and that's the story I want to dance about. But when you put my mask on and tell me that's not the story you want to hear in my theater, then you putting the mask on my face. I want to shout like my grandmother used to shout in church. Yes, he do. Yes, he do. Yes, he do. I can say and shout like her, but you got to correct me. You got to tell me, yes, he does. Yes, I don't want to hear that. You put a mask on my face every time my rhythm is not in your rhythm. Every time you write me a check to say, hey, dance the way I told you to dance. Dance black. I want you to dance like I wrote you a check to dance black. Not the way you are dancing. I don't want that anymore. I think it's time for us young people, just like George C. Wolfe, just like other playwrights, Charles Caldone, Andrea Kennedy, all of those playwrights that didn't get produced, their work is significant today. It's time for us to accept that and say, we're throwing off the mask. It's time for us to build our own national theaters where we know our work will be done, such as the National Black Theater Festival. If you haven't gone down there, you need to go down there because our work and our voice is heard. It's time. You can't hear me with my mask on. It's time to take that mask off, hear my story. Don't change my story. Don't edit my story. Don't say you're offended by my story. Just listen to my story. And don't give me any kind of examples by I post this, I do that, I got Black friends, because that's the same thing as saying I got Black friends. And lastly, I'll say on this comment, we need to stop changing stuff has a significance. We need to stop changing Martin Luther King Day to Multicultural Day. We need to stop changing Black Lives Matter to All My Lives Matter, because that's not the point. The point is I'm dying out here and I am 12% of your population and you're killing me. So my life is just like an endangered fish. If you're gonna protect that, then Black Lives Matter. I'm done with it.
Right. Liza, I know you had your hand up, and then Mariana, Liza.
Yeah, so the mask to me is synonymous with what Toni Morrison referred to as the white gaze. And playwrights, actors, creatives, producers can either create with the white gaze, creating work that will make the audience be comfortable or not rattle the cage too much of the white audience, or there's a freedom in writing without the white gaze. I'm not writing for the white audience. I don't care what the white audience thinks. That's been my path. And I will say that whether you write with the white gaze or whether you write without the white gaze, whatever road you take, you're going to pay a toll. Because by me not writing with the white gaze, my career has taken the scenic route. And that's okay. I chose that. And if you write with the white gaze, there's entry into, white theaters or white film, maker circles. Your work will get produced because it supports the narratives that white folks are comfortable with. So I think we're at a crossroads now with hopefully not having to ask, white producers or white theaters to let us tell our stories, but, making alliances and emboldening, theater companies, Black producers, we don't even have to have that conversation, because there's an understanding that our narratives are important without that gaze. So I think if we have enough people, Black people in positions of power, theater festivals, theater companies, producers, filmmakers, studios, right? That will give us that freedom, that we don't have to ask white producers and theaters, for access. And we don't have to do that dance where we have to put on a mask or have the white gaze to make them comfortable. So I think, and I hope, my prayer is that we're at that point where we don't have to ask them for shit, because we're self-sufficient. And if there's some who get it, who are on board, and they want to, move into the 21st century with some enlightenment and some humanity, then they will let our voices, have space to breathe without worrying about making them feel comfortable.
Thank you. Mariana?
Yeah, so we're in a mess. It's basically code switching, right? So I was born and raised in Mexico City. How I am as a woman or an artist there is very different on how I am here, or how I am with friends, or with non-white friends versus white friends, or with my bosses or with my students. But I think that, going back to what Liza was saying, I think that it goes to not only not have the, depend on the white gaze, but not depend on white producers and not depend on white aesthetics. And I think that we have to attack that from all sides. How do you decolonize a syllabus? What do you teach in school? Who do you teach in school, and why? How, we need Black producers and Black directors and people of color at all levels of everything. Obviously theater, because that's what I'm thinking, but literally of everything. Because if we don't have people who see the world from our perspective, we are not going to be able to enact the change that we might want to. So that's kind of like where I'm very torn about this, because for me, as it has, I'm sure for everybody here even more, wearing a mask is a matter of survival. It's a matter of making a living. It's a matter of getting my work done, getting my work produced. And you get used to this shit, and it comes automatic. Like, you don't even think about it no more. Like, you're just like, oh, this is how I have to act, to talk. This is how I have to ask. This is how I have to dress. So I don't know, man. I do have hope in the kids. Like my nephew, my niece, my students. I'm like, that generation is right. Like, they might get some shit done. So I'm happy. I'm looking forward to see that.
I hear you, Danny, and then Angela. Danny?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's so good to see you, by the way, Mariana. I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm just so happy to see you here.
I love her.
Yeah, I want to talk about that mask. You know, America's tropes and the ability to murder Black people and the permission to dehumanize and animalize, and it's just all part of, I think these masks work on multiple levels. You know, when you look at newspapers and from the 1800s, and you look at news stories in 2020, generally is shifted in a way where suddenly the victim becomes the criminal, or the birth of a nation, like that was mentioned, where suddenly you give these Black people a chance and they'll be shooting dice and eating watermelon in the White House, right? And so when you think about power structures and educational structures, birth of a nation, like that was mentioned, where suddenly you give these Black people a chance and they'll be shooting dice and eating watermelon in the White House, right? Right. And
That's you, Danny. I think you're getting feedback.
is that me echoing back? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm hearing myself back. See, I'm taking my mask off.
Be with yourself. It's so good.
But I mean, I'm just saying that we have to examine not only the mask that we think we're wearing, but the mask that is even real. Sometimes we think that what is under our mask is our truth. And we have to examine also who told us that was our truth, right? Who told you? I mean, like, I remember even growing up, like when I got sent to a mixed high school, and you know, I was like, oh, they see me as this nigga. I'm gonna be that nigga. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that was my truth, but is what I thought that the next unlayering was to protect myself. That nigga. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that was my. I'm echoing, so I probably.
Yeah, you are.
But anyway, I want to say just about this masking. It is a very complicated thing, and it is survival, but also I think that our art has to go educationally into, I'm tired of teaching. I'm not tired of teaching brown and Black children, but I feel like I'm giving them all this knowledge and information and history. And I want to go into all white environments also and say, this is unapologetically unmasked Blackness, right? And in a position where resistance is normalized and not criminalized, even in like how it's being presented back.
Thank you. And I know that we're on a really tight schedule. I see Michele over there, so I'm going to go to.
No, you're fine. I've been having computer issues, and I might as well just go ahead and say this. The computer always takes me out to An Actor's Life, the series. Today, it took me out to Michele Baldwin, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, OMG. So I'm just doing some behind the scenes, updating the Facebook page with the links. I didn't even, moon in retrograde, I guess.
Well, we're with you, baby. CG, we were going to go with you, Jamal, and then Angela.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make it kind of quick.
It's okay. No, speak. Just go ahead.
Okay. It's interesting how a lot of people are wearing masks. I never wore a mask. I've always been as transparent as possible. I was raised by a mother and father that made us be who we were and accept that. And if others don't accept it, then it's really their problem. You know, I'm as transparent can be, from being a Black man, homosexual man, raised in California, but I'm a New Yorker because I've been here over 30 years. But you know, the only mask I wear would probably be this beard that I'm wearing as an actor. And I take advantage of that as well by the pros and cons and by the roles of good and bad. You know, I think we need to work with being more transparent and not wearing a mask, because the mask doesn't do anything to you, nor does it do it to anyone else. So I think it's important to just remove, be you.
Thank you, Jamal.
Yes, it's a very interesting conversation using the word mask, because I've been writing a long time And I don't think I've ever had a mask. And that's probably because I understand what it is to wear a mask in order to get your stuff done. And it just could be, that I'm not into that. So I don't worry about a mask. I like what the sister said about taking the scenic route in order to get your stuff done, because usually that's what happens when you don't want to wear a mask, when you don't try to placate the powers that be and stuff like that. So I guess it was a long time ago that I realized that, people are not going to do my shit anyway, so I'm not going to be who I am. And if it happens, which it does happen every now and then I'm happy that I didn't have to sell out to do it. So, being writers is really hard because we're already trying to compete, with the powers that be, and they don't let maybe but 1% of our Black stories be told. So that's already one thing that's against us. And then a lot of us always think that, well, we can always come home and we can have, Black theaters that understand what we're about, but we have the same problem there too. And it's not because of racism there, but it's because people don't agree with what we have to say. So we catch hell whether we wear a mask or we catch hell whether we take the mask off and try to go the regular route. So you have sometime in your career, you have to decide, am I going to be me as a writer, and the hell with anybody else? If they don't like it, too bad. If somebody finds it to be a hidden gem and they do it, then that's fine. So that's where I am. I've never, ever thought about wearing a mask, ever.
Hold on, Levy, because Angela wanted to say something. Go ahead, Angela.
Yes, the mask. Growing up in Alabama, it's as a little girl, I always recognized the mask less in behavior and more in vernacular, that voice. When we talk to white people. Not me, I never really cared. I embrace watermelon, I embrace fried chicken. I do not shy away from eating it in public. Like, I really celebrate it. But I do understand growing up. Wait a minute, lady, you didn't talk like that when you were at the picnic. Brings that me? Who's that?
Somebody got reverb. Can you?
Got reverb, Angela. We're gonna have to come back to you. Levy,
Yeah, we're getting feedback.
Yeah, we're getting feedback, Angela. Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to you. Don't worry. I just want to say real quickly, and then we're gonna go to Levy and then to Michele. I do understand that mask. I've been in the rooms as an actress doing a white writing work, and knowing that the dialogue is wrong, but not wanting to speak up because I don't want to correct the dialogue because I'm not the writer. And I know that if I correct the dialogue, I'm not getting writer's credit. So where do you go with that? You know what I'm saying? Do you do the dialogue? And I have spoken up and I have seen some changes, but I don't know, wearing that mask in these rooms, sometimes, it's not so, it hasn't been so easy to pull it off, but I'm tired. Levy, we're gonna go to you and then to Michele.
Yeah, first of all, I really appreciate all the comments and insight that people have shared so far. It's really, really an honor to be in this room with all of you. I want to go back for a minute, Ben, to the very beginning of the show and the list of names, how emotional and moving that was. And I'm glad that you guys had Eleanor Bumpers there, but we could have included Michael Stewart, Khalif Brower, and Michael Griffith or Yusef Hawkins in New York City, even though they weren't killed.
Michael Griffin was in, but
okay. Well, I missed
but
it.
we need can you send us those names, because Benja, myself, and T. Renee, when you search, there is no database that holds the names for our people, right?
I will do that. I mean, Michael Griffith and Yusef Hawkins weren't killed by police, but they were killed by racist mobs, and in New York City. So You know, I wrote a play back in the 90s called The Bow Wow Club. At the end of that play, the men, 5 men who black men who are having their reunion, get to a point where they start recalling the names of all the people that they knew who died before their time. And it was an amazing thing that happened, you know, when they were on stage calling these names, the audience started calling names too. And it became this cathartic moment because of the shared experience that all of us have. And it continues into this day. So, you know, I try as an artist to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on with us. You know, The Last Revolutionary play, you know, my main character talks about the oncoming of the white supremacists, and lo and behold, there they were on the Michigan courthouse in full regalia and fully armed, you know, and it was like Matt Perkins said that, you know. I think this is my responsibility, given the gifts that I do have, and I own those gifts, to share with the world, to say, hey, look at this. We put stuff under a microscope and say, hey, look, this might be coming, or this is coming. Because why? Because history tells us so. I love what Jamal had to say in terms of, you know, and Malcolm, you know, the violent revolution. Sometimes you got to take it, just like Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines and Henri Christophe did in Haiti. You know, I mean, they took the island. You know, no one begged for it. They took it because no one's going to give it to you. So what's happening today in this strange way is that, you know, people are saying, no, we're gonna take action now. Something probably that should have happened a long time ago, but everything happens in its time. So here we are, and you know, people are taking action. I was very offended though by some of the comments that were made in terms of the rioting and the looting and all that kind of stuff, and they want to you know, Al Sharpton said it, you know, yesterday or the day before. You don't get to put your foot on my neck and tell me how I'm supposed to respond. So if you take your foot off my neck and I get up and I want to punch you in the face, I want to stab you or shoot you, then that's what I'm going to do, because you had your foot on my neck and I told you, get your foot off my neck. And you said no. 3 times, no. 4 times, no. By the 12th time, I get your foot off my neck and I'm angry. And you're gonna tell me how I'm supposed to respond? Well, you can't control the narrative all the way around. You can't do it. You know, so if someone wants to go out and throw a Molotov cocktail, you know, God bless you. I'm not doing that, but I understand it. I understand it, you know, and hey, because that Molotov cocktail that's going into that store, guess what? The next step is going into your home. So chill out and get the message that people are upset. People are tired, you know, and this journey that we're on right now, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic because everything is lining up like a perfect storm. See, for all of this to happen, it's lined up like a perfect storm. So maybe this time, these officers will get the full brunt of the law. Maybe they will get the maximum sentence. But if they turn out like Laquan McDonald's murderer, who shot Laquan McDonald 16 times, and then finally after 4 years they bring him up, and he gets what? He gets a slap on the wrist. He gets like a 10 years, and he's out in 3 for shooting him, taking a life 16 times. And one last thing. The violence on the violence. It's like Laquan McDonald shot not once, not twice. He was dead by the 3rd or 4th bullet, 16 times. How much anger has to be in someone? How much hatred, how much evil has to be in someone to do that? You know, this man is someone George Floyd. You know, the knee on the neck, but how brazenly
Hold on, Levy. Can you guys all just mute so that we can hear Levy, because we're getting feedback from someone.
You know, how brazenly he just, with his hand in his pocket, as if he was killing an animal. And that's, he dehumanized that man. That's hatred to the nth degree. That's the kind of thing that we have to get rid of. One more thing, and I'll stop. You know, racism, we've been dealing with it for 400 years, but it's not, we can't get rid of it. We want it gone. So you white folk out there, it's on you. Y'all got to come to grips with some stuff. Y'all really do. Y'all got to look in the mirror and say, who am I really? And what do I really want? But I see it happening. You know, I'm not criticizing and jumping on everybody, because I see y'all out there in the street, and I'm encouraged and empowered by that. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
And just quickly, I'm going to say, I want to give a shout out to some of these theaters. As Black and Brown people, we do have places we can go, like the Billie Holiday Theater, the Labyrinth Theater that was started by John Ortiz. We have the New Federal Theater and the National Black Theater, the Roby Theater in California, I believe. And there's a few of them, and we need to start supporting these theaters, because these theaters put on shows written by us and for us. Michele, I want to turn it over to you.
T. Renee had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Check for you, for my team, check the chat box, just so you know. Okay. Keep your eyes on the chat box.
Can you guys hear me?
See, you have reverb, so you're gonna have to either turn off one of your devices or go to a different space. Okay. We can't hear you. All right, so while you fix that, I can hear you now, but you have reverbs. You have two devices going.
Is it better now?
A little. Well, let's try it and see. But if not, we'll come to you.
I hate to, I am a second device. I hate to hang up. Because
no, you're good. Good. Go. You're good. You're good.
I'm good. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Levy, I want to go back to the one of your comments. When we put this list together, we try to stay on topic with just the African-American Black people that were killed by the police. I definitely know that Yusef Hawkins was missing. I definitely even remembered Nia. I had to take Nia Wilson off the list just because it was so many people that had died by the hands of the police. So I wanted to really honor what the topic was. That's number one. But my question is now, how do we feel about that? You know, Levy made a very valid point. You know, now we have people, we're angry, we're hurting. Some of that anger is loud. Some of that, anger is actionable and looting and going to businesses. And sometimes we don't know if it's a Black business or Latino business or a white business. So then we do have, on one side, we have those business owners that looks just like you and I, that employ people, that help the community. And now they are out because it was hard for them to get along in the first place. And they may not be able to come back. So I guess I wanted to ask, just even one person what they thought about that in terms of, I definitely understand the rage. I have the rage as well, but should we be looting and destroying businesses? I understand how people feel about the Targets and stuff like that, but we also have the mom and pops.
I'm not
so
saying.
Then what do we do about that?
So hold on, everybody. Hold on. Daniel raised his hand first, and then Levy can go. Daniel, you got to unmute, sweetie.
Oh, you have to. Okay, I'm on mute. I have questions sometimes about who does that in the middle of a crowd. I have questions about Black, brown businesses, people of color that get destroyed in these situations, about who sort of leads the charge in that. And I question that a lot. Like, I understand everybody going to Macy's, but I do wonder if there are people who are not really about the revolution, who are clearly, they don't understand that that's your store or that's another person's store. But I don't know the treatment and how people feel about how they got treated at these stores either, you know? So I think it's a little more complicated than us destroying our own stuff. I think it's really about examining who makes the call to start a mob to go into a Black-owned business or a brown-owned business. And I don't want to get on that Republican outside agitator stuff. I mean, because I don't know what it is, but that's all I'm going to say. I'm not sure that the people who do that are people who are buying from those stores in the community. I mean, I haven't seen anything around here in Harlem where people have gone for the bodegas or where people have gone for like the clearly Black-owned businesses. I mean, I'm sure it's happening, but I haven't seen it.
Levy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm surely not condoning people going out and destroying the community, destroying Black-owned businesses or anything like that. But what I am doing is acknowledging the fact that people are dealing with trauma, and how people respond to it would be as different as everybody in this room. You know, people deal with death differently. People deal, there are people, children that have trauma and they cut themselves. They're cutters. So when someone goes out and they're having a traumatic experience by all the stuff that they've dealt with, and they decide that they're gonna go out and just destroy shit. Again, I'm not going to do that, and I don't condone it, but I get it. I understand it. And I'm somewhere in the middle with that, does it make sense? No, but nothing about this makes sense. Exactly. Nothing about it makes sense. It doesn't make sense that officer kept his knee on George Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes. That does not make sense. So, we sometimes we think rational about irrational stuff. So when someone acts irrationally based on something that happened irrationally, then it comes with the territory. Again, I'm not condoning it, but when newscasters get up there and want to vilify or want to change the narrative, that's where I have a problem. I have a problem with that, because you're buying into the Kool-Aid and you're going back, and getting away from what the problem is. Why are we out there? Why are people out there? Because another Black man was executed. That's why we're out there.
Exactly. Anyone else have thoughts on that? Go ahead, Mariana.
So I'm in the Bronx, and I'm literally between Fordham and Burnside, and both those areas got really badly looted. There are no chain stores there. There's really not white people in the neighborhood. It's Black, it's Dominican, it's brown, it's Arab, it's Ghanaian, it's African American and African. And when I saw the destruction of mom and pop's businesses, of bodegas, of like, it was so painful. And Levy, I'm with you. Like, I'm not necessarily condoning it, but it hurts because these people are hurting. Mm-hmm. And you're not helping by looting their stores. Now, I honestly don't know who did it or who did what. I know that the next day, everybody in the neighborhood was outside picking up glass and sweeping the streets and being part of the community. And that part was really beautiful.
That's what I'm saying. I question who comes outside of and starts to get that going sometimes, because I don't know if your aunt, uncle owns that store. I just seriously doubt that. Some folks with these skateboards and masked up, and they're like, tear it up, man, tear it up, fuck shit up. And you're like,
and I have seen protesters hold looters back and put themselves in harm's way to say, no, bro, you're not doing that here. So like you said, Danny, that may be some outside entities, and I don't think it's enough. And I don't think that it takes away from what we are going through right now, and all the hurt and the pain that we're feeling. I understand it, but it's bigger than that. And Michelle, I want to send it to you.
So yeah, I'm here, baby. I agree with, we all know that when people are experiencing pain or dealing with painful things, that, we all express that in whatever ways we feel or what is available. What we also don't think about is that I always used to say the saying, like, the book that you rob the Black child or the urban child from turns into the weapon that they use to turn against you when they're an adult and they're trying to survive and they don't have any other means. So, maybe there were probably outsiders, and I'm sure, some of the arrests said that they were outsiders, but also there were people that, in the community that are just fucking fed up and haven't even thought about the thought that, oh my God, I'm destroying. The one thing that hurt me was just the pharmacy, because I have parents or family friends that are sick and they looted a pharmacy. It's almost like we need to have a black code. Like, don't tear up the pharmacy and don't tear up the food where you got to eat, tear up, I think during the riots, they had like stores that were marked during the riots. I don't know, which is going to bring me to this next comment that I wanted to hear from, especially like Levy and Jamal. I'm just curious, like, what do you think the differences are with all the horrific things that are happening today versus some of the things that you guys saw coming up?
I'm old enough to have seen, I was, when Martin Luther King in '68, I remember that. I remember when Malcolm was assassinated. I have a clear memory of those times. And, people were angry. They went out and they rioted and they burned stuff and they stole stuff, and and so it's it is what it is. It's not that much different. I mean, the reaction I'm talking about, is not that much different. The thing about this time too, and I should add also, when I talked about earlier the perfect storm, we're in the middle of COVID. People were locked up, quarantine, going through whatever you go through when you're locked up, and highest unemployment rate in American history. So if it's 20% across the board, it's 40 or 50% with us. So if people are going to go out on the street, what are they going to do? Yeah, they're going to go and get some stuff. Again, I'm not excusing it, but I get it. I understand that. What happened back in coming up to this point, I was really, really desperate, was the fact that it felt like there was no hope. One of the things about the 60s and the 70s, I always felt that you always see that light, always see that glimmer of hope with everything, the marches and all that. There was a feeling of positivity around it. And then coming up to this point, there was like a feeling of helplessness almost, especially after going through and I'll just go from social media time from Trayvon up until George Floyd, and all those police that got off for murder. And it's like, what? Eric Gardner, the first one, I Can't Breathe. We all saw it on video. We all saw it. And he gets off and you go, well, what has to happen? And then you go, well, not all police are bad. Well, where are they? Why aren't they speaking up? Why aren't they saying shit? What, you black cops, why aren't you out there talking about it? And so, yeah, you get this feeling of hopelessness, or as I did. And then when I turn on my TV and I see all over the country a movement happening that is bigger than what happened in '68, bigger than what happened in the '70s, because it's happening everywhere. Yeah. People are coming out and they're saying, no, this is not the world we want to live in. This is not the world we're living in.
Yeah.
Hey, if I can, Michelle, Dawn, can you just tell them about that experience you had when you was walking in the street, I guess a few months ago, with the dog situation, and the dog was following you?
Dawn?
Yes, just a few months ago, the same situation that happened with Aubrey happened to me. A man chased me down basically in his car with his children in his car and said to me, "That's your dog." I didn't respond. I said, "Hello, how are you?" He continued to follow me and say racist things about a dog that was following me. At one point, I said, "Sir, please leave me alone." He comes back around in his car, continued to say, "I need you to tell me whose dog that is and why you have that dog off the leash." I kept walking. Finally, I got aggressive and said, "Look, I'm gonna kick your ass in front of your children." He turns around a minute, two later, comes back. He comes to me and he says, "I'm sorry. I now understand that wasn't your dog." Well, what the hell gave you the right to accost me in the first place? What the hell gave you the right other than your white privilege? Because that turned out just like Aubrey. I could have been dead. But I told him, "I'm not going to lose my life without your life, because I'm going to take your goddamn life with me, mister. And it's going to be a sad day that your children see you out here fighting, losing your life over trying to control a nigger and a dog." No. And to go back to your statement about looting, I read an article on an Asian family that said whose restaurant was destroyed. And that woman said, "I have no anger about this. If this had to happen, my restaurant had to happen for justice, I do not care. I'm more for justice than a restaurant." And the other thing is about looting, it's not looting. When you deny me my human rights, when you deny me my constitutional rights, then I take my own reward. I go in, I break your store. It's not about mom and pop. It's not about that. It's about I have been denied my human rights, and I will take my own rewards, which gives a message to mom and pop and all the other people that are in the city council. I need to protect my store by voting for African Americans. I need to protect my store by being on people of color's side. I need to stand up and not have my mouth shut when a person of color is handcuffed and put their foot on their necks. I need to come out that store and say, "Hey, wait a minute. That didn't do anything. Don't do him like that." Then I'm protecting my store. When I stand up, I'm protecting my store. But no, it's different enough. You talk about things we didn't segregate, we didn't integrate until 1962 here in Texas, where I am right now. We are still feeling the ramifications. That Mr. Floyd is one man's death. We here in Polk County for the past 4 years have had 5 deaths. One black guy shot in the back, said he was robbing. Another black man died in the prison from tuberculosis, my nephew. Another black man died in the prison because he was having a stroke and nobody would give any attention, my nephew. 2 other black men chopped up in ditches and thrown in the garbage, and nobody has said anything. So we're not going through something that we went through in 1960, 1970. We're going through it right here in Polk County, Texas, and the world has not paid attention. This is why we're angry. It's not just about one death. It's about the many deaths that go uncounted for, the many deaths that the county judges and the people in power say, no, 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 and the good black people that don't say anything about it. The good black people who go along with their nieces and nephews being chopped up and thrown in ditches. No, we all have to stop this. That's what's our normal. We can't go back to that kind of normal anymore.
There's no going back. There's no going back. Jamal, did you have something that you wanted
Yes,
to say?
yes. Since I came up through the 60s and the 70s too, the difference between then and now, I think, is that the last poets were wrong. This revolution is going to be televised. And that's the only reason why we're having such an impact. Because what went on in the 60s in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and is going on now is nothing, this same old business. So, so I don't see any difference. I just see that it's being exposed a lot more people are seeing it. So, I understand it. So, and just a little bit on the looters. I remember I was living in LA when the Rodney King stuff happened and they started burning down their own neighborhood. I wasn't upset so much about them setting fires and burning stuff down, but I'm saying, if you're gonna do something, why the hell would you burn down your neighborhood? All you gotta do is go a couple of miles, go burn down Hollywood. See, I'm not against that, but that's one of the things I didn't like about the burning and the looting. And also, there are a group of people during any time that loots because it's an opportunity to steal shit. They don't care whether your store is owned by somebody that looks like them or what, they just get, it's an opportunity for them to go get some free shit. And we got people like that, so I just look at that as being different from the people who are marching and, and demonstrating. That's part of the, what you're gonna get when you get that kind of stuff. So, I understand. That's the difference. There's really no difference except it's being exposed more, because all these things that we're seeing, you better believe they were happening 20 and 50 times it during the times when it wasn't televised and getting away with it. So no difference.
No difference. I always say Martin Luther King must be spinning in his grave, because the pendulum has seemed to not move. But Daniel, go ahead.
I'll be quick. I am so appreciative because I feel like, so the story that I'm going to tell is, when I was a little younger, I had this agent. He told me to dress in the baggy. Remember, people were in the long baggy to represent being a teenager. And so I was running for the bus. A cop tackled me, has his gun in my head and says, "Don't move."
Somebody, sorry, Danny, somebody has a radio on. Can you mute yourself?
And so I was running for the bus.
Somebody's playing the...
Oh, they're playing it back live.
Okay, all right. Just you could watch Facebook Live. Just turn the sound down on the bottom right hand corner of the picture. Go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry, sweetie.
So I'm running for this bus. I get tackled. I only know it's a cop from the shoes, right? That's the only way I know it, because it happened just like this. It's when I lived in the Times Square area. It happened so fast. And what happened after that happened so fast. I kept saying to myself, please, it's like I didn't want to sneeze. I didn't want my breath to betray me. It was just like my heart was beating. I didn't want that to give me away. And I knew, like, if I turned the wrong way, I was going to be dead. As this was over in about 10 seconds, it's not him. Now, they left me on the sidewalk, right? People are pulling out, this is how long ago the story was. Tourists were pulling out these little disposable cameras and taking pictures. And I was so beat down in that moment, right? Like, all the revolutionary stuff that I know, everything I read about the movement, everything, even having people in my family in the movement, I couldn't move, right? I just couldn't move. And I sat there with that trauma and noticed everything around me. And it was probably the most artless moment of my life. I just couldn't find anything, any context. I noticed the gum, the broken glass. I pulled myself up, and there wasn't a single person that came out of one of those stores that said, this shouldn't be happening. I think about these kids now and with their iPhones and all this other stuff that they have. And I see that, and I see that hopefully when these experiences happen, that these kids have revolutionized this act to say, we will record it, we will say something. And if the stores don't say anything, I might go in there and knock the glass down, right? But in this question of looting is such a loaded word.
I call it rebellion. I mean, this
yeah.
is rebellion. We're in a rebellion right now.
but we're also, you know, we're dealing with such hyper capitalism and imagery around capitalism, and that you're somebody if you got something. Nobody got nothing, but you're somebody if you got something. And you're also like dehumanized. And even like outside of my neighborhood, I don't know if I'd have been tackled by the cop like that in my neighborhood. I might have been pushed up against a wall, right? I might a lot of stuff. But depending on where you are in the midst of all this capitalism, you're in a danger spot. So people, I think, are also reacting and revolting in their own spaces, because at least you can run through the crowd, or you could be, you know what I mean? Like I'm all over the place with this, because I have deliberately avoided revisiting the trauma of what it means to be. So you look at these situations and they have the Black reporters, the Latino reporters, and they're reporting the story, right? Behind them are Black people taking stuff. And I still say that there is the narrative that is being presented does not present that maybe 50 of those people might have had the same experience I had, right? 100 people might have had Don's experience with that dog. I mean, we all know how that goes when you're around certain, and you're in certain spaces. All of a sudden you gotta pull up and be super aware of everything instead of just like having a good day, because the good day turns just like that. And it's because you turn that good day. Anyway, thank you. I was just thinking about this question of how people are talking about property rights, and like Dick Gregory says, you know, what about human rights? You know,
well, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. At the end of the day, does it matter? We live in a country that glorifies a dog's life means more than a human life, because that's what, and that's the thing that they don't understand about our narrative of Black Lives Matter. It's not that we're saying that your life doesn't matter, the dog's life doesn't matter. It's just that you've put us in a systemic society that you've told us from day one, 400 years ago, that our life does not matter. You invest nothing, and you want to take it that Black Lives Matter is some message that we just came up with so we could be cool. No, that's
and they lie, and they lie. Unless you have proof, they lie, right? They lie about what happens to you, right? These numbers are amazing. When I went to the precinct after that incident with me in Times Square, you know what they said? They said it never happened. They said we didn't have any officers on that corner at that time.
Because they weren't supposed to be there.
Because they lied.
Well, they lied, but they also weren't supposed to be there.
I wasn't supposed to be on that sidewalk.
Well, yeah, this is true. But we have, you know, we know in life that things happen because, like, as tragic as all this stuff is, we wouldn't be here talking and ready to move forward with a solution or an answer or some action. I mean, this next generation, like you guys have all been saying, they're fucking amazing. And they're in all colors, shapes, and sizes, and they don't give a damn. They're like, I'm gonna be heard. They've got, if you watch the news, everybody's got a phone up, they're recording everything. But then, okay, now we've got this action. What is gonna happen after that? What is actually going to happen if all the recording and all the things are out here, it's blatant, and you still do what you're doing, then where are we? So I, you know, for me, I just feel like go out and vote, because we got to start voting on the lower level, the middle level, the higher level, and start finding out who these people are that we're putting in these positions that don't give a damn about going out and trying to change the laws. I'm gonna ask one more thing. I know we're gonna wrap, but I just think it's so absurd that a Black mother has to teach her Black son how to handle and how to deal with a cop. White people don't understand that. I mean, I love the movement where there's like, oh yeah, you know, take a moment and feel my pain and walk in my shoes. But you can't really walk in the shoe if your child is innocent, nothing, riding a car, and you just pull them over because you have an attitude or you don't know how to talk to somebody. So I just wanted us to have this conversation because I know we're all frustrated and we're all aggravated and we're all disgusted. So that being said, try to get a little bit of a resolution. We had some stuff planned, but we kind of went a little bit over. I would like for you guys each to part with some words of encouragement for your fellow man, us out there, for anyone, whatever message you want to say. And then if you had the opportunity to say one word or one sentence to George Floyd or Emmanuel Ellis, who just died 2 days ago. Like I said, updating the list was, it was stressful because you keep adding names and Levy's giving me more names. So, you know, what would you say to them if you had the opportunity? We'll all keep it quick. We'll do the round robin. We'll start with Daniel and Liza, T, Angela, CG, Levy, Don, Mariana, Jamal, Melissa, Michele, and Benja.
I would say because Black life matters, matter in a Black life.
Liza. Lisa, I'm sorry, baby, Lisa. I'm so sorry. No, I need to say your name right, Lisa.
Thank you. I would like to say that there are organizations that are on the ground that are doing the work that you talked about, that you're hoping for. There are organizations that have been in this game since straight bond. And so we have a responsibility to educate ourselves and our community about these organizations that are already there. We don't have to recreate the wheel. We do not. We are there. We are in the trenches. We have people who are running for local offices. We have people who are challenging the laws. We have organizations who are working to end mass incarceration. We are there. So we just have to become aware and amplify those organizations and those people so that we don't feel hopeless, so that we don't feel like we're starting from scratch. We're not starting from scratch. We got shit on the ground, on the move right now. There's work being done, and the young people are on fire, and the young people are doing the work. The young people have the research, the young people have the fire, the young people have the information, and we have to align ourselves with them because we're the elders, we're the aunties, we're the uncles. So we have to give them some blueprints, and we have to help them learn from our mistakes. So any ball that's dropped, that's on us. We have to jump in. And what are we giving these young people? So I'll just say that. And as far as what I would say to our new ancestors who are now in the next round, let's go. Help us, because you're more powerful on the other side than you were right now, and you started a movement. So we need our invisible squad to come on, load us up. We got to really remember that African mojo. We got to really remember that African spirit. We got to really remember that our ancestors have power, and we got to call on them. We have to call on them. So I'm calling on George Floyd. I'm calling on Aiyana Jones. I'm calling on all of the Trayvon Martin. I'm calling on their spirits to help us.
Yeah.
So that they just again. Because we have 400 years of an invisible posse that is deep. So we call on them. So my word is conjure. That's my word.
Love it. Love it. T. Renee?
I just want to say that, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I want to say too, all our white friends and people that are commenting and saying all Black matters does not mean that Black people hate white people, okay? It just means that right now we are being brutalized and murdered by the police, and that has to stop. What I would say to Mr. George Floyd and everybody else that has been murdered by the police, we love you, God bless you. We're so sorry that that happened, but the best thing that we can do is not let your memory be in vain. And it matters not what your criminal record was. The fact is, you should not have been murdered by the police.
Angela?
To all the families who have lost a loved one, I join you. I've been there. I'm suffering too, and you'll be okay. We pray for you. We love you. We support you. To everybody who has the opportunity to vote, understand the power of the vote. understand what you want and vote. We're not talking about the president. To stop this stuff on this level, this is state and local. Know who is the judge. Know who is the police chief. This is how you change that. And to go back to what I was trying to say earlier about the mask, I'm speaking more from the perspective of the reverse mask, where so many people think, I don't know, they think it's cool to say that they don't see color. They think they're doing the world a favor by not seeing color. We're all different colors for a reason. The creator created all these colors for a reason. Honor my blackness and everything that comes with that. Do not obliterate my color. I'm not white. I don't do cold macaroni salad. I do baked macaroni and cheese. Honor that. We're different. So don't put us all in one pot thinking you're doing the world a favor. You're Mexican, I honor that. You're Caucasian, I honor that. You're Asian, I honor that. We don't eat the same things. We don't speak the same language. So all my white people out there, don't do that. We don't like it. We don't appreciate it. Stop it.
Yes. I guess what I would like to say is for, let's say, white people, stop going to your Black friends and asking what I can do, but go to your white friends and ask them what we can do. You know, I know there are a few white people that don't have Black friends. And in that respect, then go to your social media, visit CNN, go to MSNBC. You know, you go to Don Lemon and he'll definitely tell you what he would like for you to do for Black people. And my last thing is this. There's a book by Shirley Jackson. It's a short story and it's called The Lottery. And this story is about tradition. America has a tradition. This tradition needs to be stopped. You know, we should no longer have the black dot on the white paper referring to the Black man and the black box referring to Black people. We need to be that neighboring community that says we need to stop this tradition as it is in the book. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. Wow. You know, everybody in this room, amazing artists, and I would venture to say that all of your work, including mine, you know, in some way, was a stepping stone to where we are today. You know, I've dedicated my life to telling the truth or being about the truth in my work and doing work that the greater society would not necessarily do, telling our stories. And I feel like we need to continue to do that and know that it has purpose and meaning. Because where else are people gonna get it? You know, they're not gonna get it by turning on the television, that's for sure. So, you know, when I look out at all of those, and it may be a small thing, you know, as they say, you know, if you have a play produced and you touch one person, then you have a victory, you know? And so maybe there are people out there that saw a play by Jamal or saw Benja in a play, you know, and were moved and changed by, because that's what art does. So I just want to encourage us to continue to do what we do and know that it has value, you know, continue to tell our truths. You know, we don't all have to agree all the time. You know, we come at it from different points of view and different ways, and it will affect people, you know. So I want to say that. I also, as far as all those that took the bullet, you know, sacrificed their life, you have not died in vain, man. You know, we are charged, you're inspired by your life and by your death. And we, at this point in history, you know, has come to a place where we're ready. We're ready to make change as a culture, as a community. We're ready to have change happen, and it's got to happen. It's got to happen. This feels so different than anything I've ever experienced. So I'll just, close with that. God bless everybody. I love you. Thanks.
I first would like to say and give honor to Mr. Floyd and all the rest who have lost their lives, to say thank you for this new epochs that you have given us. We are now at a moment where you will say, where were you when George Floyd was murdered? Where were you when that officer had his knee on his neck for 8 minutes? Just as you asked, where were you when Kennedy shot? Where were you when Martin Luther King was shot? Where were you when Katrina happened? This will be another where were you moment in our lives around the world. And I thank you, Mr. Floyd. For giving us this moment to change and say to the world, we will not go back to being normal, because normal is what got us here. We have to be better. We will be better. And I will drag you into the 21st century kicking and screaming to be better, because it's going to take all of us. And lastly, to address, I apologize to you, Mr. Floyd, and all the others, and the little girls and the little boys who have ever heard, don't go down to that school showing your color. This is the reason we don't appreciate or can support other people of color, because we have been told not to appreciate our own color. Benja, we have been told by our parents and grandparents to protect our lives, to put on the mask. Yes. And we have to take off the mask now for our grandma and our grandpa and say, it's okay now. It's okay for me to show my color now. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, what I would say to them, what I say to them now, Mexicans have a weird relationship with dead. We're walking with it. We're like side by side by it. The dead never go anywhere, basically. So what I would say to them now is your lives still matter. Your lives still matter. Right. Like, it's not in the past. Yeah. It's here. It's with us. Because we, as a society, need to learn for this shit. And we failed. And I don't want that to be, I don't want your death to be in vain. And I know it's not. And I know you mean a lot for a lot of people, and now for more people, because now we all saw you. But I want to think that you're still here, that you're still walking side by side with the rest of us. Just sorry, my cat is killing me. Go away. You know, that we're still here, that we're still together, that you still matter. That's all.
Yes, first I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Floyd, for bringing a 6-year-old who says, my daddy has changed the world, which is so true. I mean, and he's another victim to, you know, what's been happening to us for 400 years. So I can understand that. I think that the most important thing is that everybody keeps that pressure on trying to change things. But I do believe it's going to be up to people like on our panel who will tell the stories that'll go on beyond us, go on to beyond the 6-year-old, and will make much better focus on the youth coming up later to understand exactly what's happening. So that's what I think.
Melissa, you wanna, before we wrap, you have some people online that were, give a few highs and whatever things they're saying?
Absolutely. We have more people who joined the audience. We had Kimmy Ware, Melvin Lonan, Tisha Seymour. Please forgive me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Thais Walsh. Thais Walsh, thank you. Naja Ta, is that correct?
Naja, I believe it's
Naja, yes. Nambi E. Kelly, Rick Sandak, Yusuf Mays. Oh, we have some great creatives in here. Les Johnson, Eric Kilpatrick, Darius Hinch, Fulton C. Hodges, Eric McKay. We have a couple of comments. Thank you all for joining, by the way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we have some comments from Nambi. She stated, really good panel and that Bow Wow Club is a great play. Naja also stated kudos. Unfortunately, she had to run out, but truth comes to light, artist empowerment, and she gave us the black fist. Love it. Thais said, it's beautiful, but we don't own anything. And until we own our own theaters, then we are people want us to say. We have to collectively figure out how to build our own theater. Let's figure that out. Rick Sandex says, well said, LL, for Levi. For Levy, Lee. He also said the officers who beat up Rodney King in '92 weren't convicted, which triggered the LA riots. If the officers in George Floyd ultimately are exonerated from this heinous crime, watch out.
Yeah.
Rick also said, great line, Daniel, a good day turns just like that. And he also said, great share, Liza. And Angela Trotter, yes, 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 with exclamation marks. Eric McKay agreed and said, don't honor the Blackness when it's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
He also said we should continue to use the words Black Lives Matter as a greeting to everyone we greet instead of hello, instead of what's going on, how you doing, man. It should now be a greeting and a language, Black Lives Matter. An everyday, all day phrase. Let us not forget that. And the next generation will ask, why do we greet this way? And we'll be able to tell them why. So that's all the comments that we had so far. Oh, and welcome, Robbie Managirty. He says, stay creative through it all. My little 2 cents is, this has been a rough week for me. And it all started on Saturday, last Saturday, when my 20-year-old daughter came to me in tears, saying that she's afraid of her life, afraid of her generation and her children's generation further down the line. And she said, why do people think it's okay to be silent? It's not. And I agree. And I assured her that she has a voice. And I say this all to say, and Jamal Williams, you hit it on the head with educating our youth. We have to continue to educate our youth because soon we will be long gone. And we have to let them know what's going on, keep them apprised, have them watch, some of the news because some of it isn't real. My daughter and I went to a couple of peaceful protests side by side. I want her to have that feeling and know what it's about so that way she can teach others who are in her realm because she's a part of the Black Student Union, so she can share these experiences because they're firsthand. And that's what we need to do. We need to continue to educate our youth moving forward. That's all I got.
We have to remember that we have a voice and we have to use our voice to highlight and speak out against injustices. We have the other side to understand that we have never had justice. So don't act like it was something we had and we lost it. We never had it. We were released, our ancestors were released without a justice. And we've been fighting ever since to get it back. It's important that we learn to listen to each other. We talked about this even in mental health, but to really listen to another human being and walk to the table willing to have your opinion change by what that person said, by what you hear, because you only know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. So those are my words and parting words that I would give to any of those families. We've got you. Someone took my other one, that you matter. and that we will continue as artists. That was the salute. That was going to be our ending thing, was to ask you guys what you guys are going to work on. But I'm just going to say that to this family, I'm going to charge my friends and all these creatives in this space, in this window right here, and listening out, to tell the stories of our people, to share the stories of our people. Why are you waiting for a theater? We have cameras, you could shoot scenes, you can write scenes and get together with all of this little group right here can probably do a production, and we have to do it. So my thing would be like, just take action to let your voice and our stories be told.
Absolutely.
If I could say,
yeah, it's your turn. You should have known you were last.
I'm last because you're the producer. But
I'm by the window.
I will say, go to Levy's page, Don Glenn's page, Daniel Carlton's page. Every day they write something beautiful.
Yes.
Write about how they're feeling, and I love what they write. So if you can visit their page, Levy Lee Simon, Don Wilson Glenn, Daniel Carlton. I will also say that I would like to end on a fantasy. If I get some money, I'm producing everybody in here. But until that time,
I love it.
Let's do a Zoom. Don Wilson Glenn, I love your writing. Well, let me not say Don, because I love everybody's writing. Let's do Zooms of your plays.
Mariana.
Thank you. Mariana, I would love for people to hear the play that you wrote called Truckers. Don Wilson Glenn, I would love to do American Menu again. Levy Lee Simon, Last Revolution. Daniel Carlton, I love all your stuff. So
the mountaintop, baby.
Yes, I would love for them to hear When Smalls Had It All, the play that you wrote that I was able to participate in. Jamal, I would love people to hear your work. Let's do a Zoom.
Eulogy of the Black Man.
Of your work. And then you got some actresses in here, Angela, T. Renee, Melissa, Michele, myself. Let's do it, CG. Let's get you in there, and let's, let this be lessons for us. And thank you for your life. To the new ancestors, I know you got our back, and I know you hear us. And I know, as Liza said, ancestors are rising, and we coming powerful. That's it for me. Michele.
Amen. Ashe. Yes. Love you all. I appreciate you all. I thank you for spending your time here, sharing your pain. And I can't wait to see the works that are going to come out of this. I'm going to say that, this is a platform for you. You are now an Actors Life the Series family member, if you weren't already. So this is a platform that, we're working on some things. We have some men in here. So we're going to be talking about a men's summit. We love you guys to come out. Benj and I are going to turn the platform over to you guys and let you talk about whatever you need to talk about. So thank you again. And I'm going to stop the recording so we can just, everybody get the fist up. Let's say goodbye to the peoples out there. Power to the peoples.
Yeah.
All power to all the people.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives
Black
Matter.
Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
I love that greeting. Black Lives Matter. That's awesome.